Um, and also one thing is that I think yesterday you have got that the assignment right on that Google Classroom.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so please make sure that you are following that the deadline that we have discussed yesterday. It is actually red deadline, so that means you must have to be submit your assignment on time. Okay. We are going to be first give you some discussions that what are the things you are going to be study from the chapter lecture 4, and then we are going to start the new lecture today. Yeah, I think that already we have discussed that we are going to be have only 3 classes. For lectures, and the 2 classes are for the presentations. So make sure that you are finishing your project work as well, and you have known that the deadline for submission, your report and that presentation file as well. Okay, so yeah, that can you see that the lecture 4 data storage?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so the first question is going to be the discuss the memory hierarchy. Discuss the memory hierarchy based on the access time, storage capacity, and cost per bit storage. Explain the memory hierarchy based on the access time, storage capacity, and cost per bit of storage. Or simply it can be also asked that explain the characteristics of memory hierarchy. So what exactly you have to do is that you should have to be draw this figure, and then you are going to be explain this memory hierarchy based on the characteristics, basically the three criteria you're having for the data storage. Based on that, you should have to be explained that the figure you have drawn here, from that smaller memory to that larger size memory, internal memory, external memory, and according to that these three characteristics: access time, storage capacity, and cost per bit of storage. Clear? The next question is going to be that yeah, this is actually draw that the classification tree of data storage in a computer, right? So these are the different memories that actually we are using for that for our computer system. So this is a very nice figure collected from the Wikipedia, that is actually representing that what type of memories actually we are having that we can use into the computer system. And these are mainly the 4 types, but there is another type that is actually one of the most important, that is the cloud storage RAID technology. So the cloud storage is a type of the storage that is not into our computer system, right? Directly connect or indirectly connected. That is actually through that the internet. You must have to be have the internet connection to get the cloud storage. So that is that the storage is actually going to be maybe after 10 years. That is going to be the only storage that actually we will be able to. We are going to be concentrate on to store our data. These are the different storage we are having in the computer. They are going to be there, but like the secondary storage, like that already I think the CD. That the DVD, that the use of the CD DVD has been reduced a lot for the last 5 to 10 years. Due to that the USB drive, we are using that the USB drive a lot these days. Okay, so we are also using that the external hard disk. And the external hard disk usage also has been reduced a lot because of that the cloud storage. Actually, that the cloud storage, we can actually store so many things as our backups. But still, some of the organizations actually the data is actually confidential, the confidential data. So that to store that the confidential data, they do not believe the cloud storage. So that means they need some other technologies like RAID, or maybe that they are using that the RAID technology. We have discussed that the several inexpensive hard disks are going to be in the server system. So still that the people are using CD, right? Because they want to store the data with securities, right? So this is the storage we are talking about. This all of the storage are important, but this is the storage is actually the cloud storage actually we are focusing on. I mean, the researchers are focusing on for the last few years. I mean, they are targeting that okay, everything is the storage is going to be the main storage for the computer system or future computer system is going to be the cloud storage. So this is also important. So you are not only going to be draw this classification tree for the data storage, but also you should have to be have an idea like that what is the primary storage and what are the types of primary storage are there and what are they. So what is the secondary storage, what are the types of secondary storage are there, what are they, what are the activities of them. So you should have to be know that, I mean, the technologies you should have to be know that the what are the types of the memories are there, and you should have to be know that those types, I mean, functionalities that you should have to know. If you are knowing them, then it is going to be, I mean, a very good knowledge you will be, I mean, carry with you in future. Okay, so that is the fact you are doing it, and then this is the fact you already know that. And here we have talked about the RAM. So mainly that we are going to be study about the here the SM design. So explain, draw and explain the SM design and SM operations. Okay, that SM operations are having that the three types of operations: standby, reading, and writing. So you should have to be actually need to be understand and explain that SM design as well as the SM operations. So it can be the questions that explain the SM design and that the three different states of SM operations. Okay, SM cell operations. So this is what the questions here, and then we are going to be talk about the DRAM design and also that, I mean, DRAM operations like read and write operations. So we should have to be understand them. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the next one is that, yeah, so the secondary storage. So you should have to know that what are the characteristics of the secondary storage and what are the meaning of these characteristics that you should have to know. And this you already know that reading and writing operations. So that is already, the data is already stored. The CPU wants to read from that the storage some data that is going to be reading, and writing means that you are writing some new data into that the storage. And then you are having here that yes, I mean that the technologies that for the hard disk drive. So this is actually a representation from the floppy drive, and this is a open hard disk where that, I mean, the different components can be visible. So then the platers we are having the different dividations with by the sector, track sector, right? So with that actually, I mean, on that the track sectors actually we store that the data with the magnetic charges, positive and negative. So you should have to be know there are two types of hard disk are there: internal hard disk, external hard disk, and what are the differences among them. And this is the components of a hard disk. So this is a really important part of that the hard disk, that you should have to be know that actually what inside of a hard disk you are having, including that, I mean, the read write operations with that uh, your actuator head, read write head. So this is an also, I mean, this figure, I think that the assignments you are doing it, going to be do it, that draw this, and you should have to be tell that in the platers how you are dividing the platers and how you are what is the cylinder, what is that the actuators, read write heads, right? What is that the track, what is that the sectors that you are going to be explained. Okay, so this is an also important questions that you should have to be know that what are the components are there into the hard disk. And the components actually we are discussing here, remember that it is only for that reading and writing operations on the hard disk. Okay, so I mean we have previously said that in a hard disk we are having the different components like motor, we are having that the different plugins, that SATA connectors, we are having a electrical board on the outside of the hard disk. So there are some other components as well, but we are not talking about them. We are talking about them here, that actually how actually that the read write operations going to be done into the hard disk. So for that actually what are the components are there and how those components are functionalities are there. So you should have to be know that, I mean, how to explain the internal components of the hard disk for reading and writing operation basically. So these are the different techniques that, I mean, we have tried to understand with that for understanding that the hard disk functionalities, read write operations. And then how a hard disk works, so simply this is the step-by-step procedure. So you can actually draw a platter, and with the header you can actually show step by step that actually how the things are happening. This is actually that the representation that what we have already discussed into that the hard disk geometry. Okay, so but it is showing the step by step with the 6 steps only. That is showing that okay how that I mean a hard disk actually works. And you should have to be know here that what is head crash and why it is actually happens. That I mean you should need to be know everything, because this is the fact you should need to be keeping your knowledge that I mean there are different materials are there that can make that the hard disk head crash. Even though I mean has been reduced a lot these days. I mean we are not having that much of hack crash, but still it is there. It's not like that it's actually completely removed. And this is that the hard disk partitioning. This that the hard disk partitioning is only for that the we have discussed here only for that the understanding purposes, but you should have to be know some boot sectors informations like master boot mbr, like the bootstrap, what is bootstrap, the bootloader, that you should have to be know. There are I mean the functions of this mbr, and that the bootstrap actually you have to understand, because when you're going to be deal with the operating systems, when you're going to be install that operating system in the hard disk, you should need to be a clear idea about this keywords. Actually this that the informations we have discussed, that's not enough. In your free time maybe you can actually go and you can actually study some the contents from that the internet. And then we are having here that the hard drive partitioning, that letters that I mean a b c d e that actually we use, that is only for knowing purposes. And here also the file system that we use, we have only said that what are the file system actually we use for that the different operating systems. So these days actually we are using the NTFS and the for that the Windows operating system, and the Linux we are using that some extension file extensions. So the for installing that the Windows operating systems, and for installing that the Linux, that the file systems are different, that you have to understand. And what are the types of file systems are there. So what is the NTFS, what is that the extension files. So you should need to be study them I mean with your own responsibility. That is actually here we have only learned that okay there are two file systems are there, but we did not explain in detail that what is that inside of the NTFS and the Linux extensions. And this is the prevention maintenance of the hard disk. So this is coming that some utility programs with that the Windows operating system, any Windows operating system you use, you are going to get this maintenance, the hard disk maintenance for prolong the life of the hard disk. So here that I mean you should have to know that actually what is check dash, what is scan disk, what is disk cleanup. But defragmentation, this is the process. In the Viva, most of the people ask that okay, can you please tell me that what is the defragmentation process is. So you should have to understand this is a very important keyword. I mean and actually in a month 2 months if you are doing a defragment your hard disk, that is actually really good, really actually that make your hard disk healthy. And the performance enhancement, here we have actually talking about the three different performance enhancement techniques. Only briefly we have discussed the disk caching rate and the compression and decompression of file. So that the techniques you should need to be explained. So explain the three different techniques for the performance enhancement. These are not the only enhancement techniques. There are different enhancement techniques as well are there. We have studied, we have learned about these three only. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so these are the things we should need to be studying from that the lecture 4. Now we can start the lecture 5. Okay, so let me share the file with you. Yeah, so this is the lecture 5 that is actually focusing on that the input device, that we are going to be discuss about that the input devices like the keyboard and mouse. This is actually we are targeting into this lecture. So it started with that the keyboard basics. So that it is telling that a keyboard primary function is to act as an input device. We already know that the keyboard is a um, what the keyboard is an input device. That already we know that our keyboard is an
Very
input
fine. Yes,
device,
sir.
right? So that so with that the using of a keyboard, that exactly what we can do. The with by using a keyboard, that the variety of tasks can be actually done. We already know them, that we can actually prepare a document, right, by using that the different text processors, like that the Microsoft Word, like the Notepad, Excel. So whatever it is, that we can actually prepare a document. Not Excel. Excel is actually the worksheet, but the document like that the most common was is that the Microsoft Word, right? That we can actually create a document. And also there is some latest text editors, like for preparing the document, like we are having the latex is one of that the form has been used significantly in actually in that the journals, some of most of the journals actually follow that the latex format. So with the latex format actually you can get the better look, better what that the presentation. If you're printing a document file, you are printing a latex file, then you'll find it out the difference between the prints. So because of that, the betterment of the advanced latex, that is actually much more applicable. Because like that, if you are having a picture into that into that your Microsoft document, and you are having a picture into that latex document, so the latex document picture is going to be printed much more nicely than that the document we are doing. So anyway, so still actually that most popular text processor is that the Microsoft Word document. There is no doubt on that. Lattice is a bit difficult to work with, so it takes a bit time to actually understand that how you're going to be deal with the LaTeX. I have worked with the LaTeX. When I was doing my research, my master's PhD on that time, and it was actually quite interesting. And it is actually better format to use for preparing the thesis, especially that for masters and PhD. Anyway, so the prepare this is one of the thing. There is a use keystroke shortcuts, that for that also you can actually use that the we can use that the keyboard. I'm going to show it. It will come in the discussions again. The access menu, you can do that the different menus you're having. These are the call menus: the file, home, comment. For an application software, that it will be able to use them. We are used that for playing games as well, on that the desktop or laptop computer, that we are using that the keyboard for playing the games as an input input as an input device. Not only that, if you're having a input device like joystick, then it is you're going to be enjoy more for playing the games. But with the keyboard also, actually you'll be able to successfully play the games. So now here it is talking about the keyboards can have different keys depending on. So yeah, that is one of the fact that the different keyboards we are having into the market, right? They are actually not same. They are the different types of keyboards are there into that the keyboards, like the different operating systems. So it is telling that the manufacturers, depending on the manufacturers, so different manufacturers are preparing that different keyboards. So that is the fact here, that most of the keys are coming with the 80 and 100 keys in between. Okay, so that means you can understand that a keyboard can have with the 80, 85, 90, 97, 100. So the different keys combinations can be there for different keyboards. There is the reason that actually what purposes that the manufacturer is building that the keyboards. That the operating system that they are designed for. Yes, that the operating system is also a fact. Like the Windows operating system. So if you're buying a Windows operating, you will see that on the keyboard there is a Windows home button. So you'll see that the Windows logo on that some special keys that we are having on that the board, the keyboard. If you are buying a Apple keyboard, you'll see that instead of that the Windows logo, there is going to be the Apple logo. So that is the fact actually that the different operating systems, that manufacturers also developing that the different type of keyboards. So that can be based on the operating system that for which operating system the keyboard has been designed, whether they are attached to a desktop computer or part of a laptop. So you know that, I mean, there is a bit different between the desktop input device keyboard you're having, and as well as that it is designed for the laptop. So there is I mean a bit different the keyboard form for the laptop and the desktop that we already know, because we have used both of them. So I hope this is that the one thing that I have said, that 80 to 100 keys. I mean, if you want to actually talk about the keyboards, so you will be able to discuss a lot of things with that the keys, that why that the keys are varies like that. I mean, if I'm talking about you that multimedia keyboard, so you are going to be get some extra keys for controlling that your multimedias, like increase the volume, playing that videos, open that the CD-ROM, close it for closing it, right? So there are so many controls, the multimedia purposes you can have that the keyboards extra keys. If you are keep buying a gaming keyboard, then that the game functionalities are going to be there, so that the keys are going to be varies one keyboard to the another keyboard. So we are seeing here a normal keyboards here, that the keyboards in that the keyboards we are having the several keys. This is actually quite interesting. You'll find it out that, I mean, there are some of the keys are still there that we do not know that what are the functions of them. Even if you're asking me, maybe that, I mean, I know that most of the keys on the keyboards, but maybe few of the keys still I have maybe not enough informations. But let's see that actually what are the keyboards in these keyboards we are having. So this is an basic keyboards that actually we are using in my computer. I mean, at this moment the keyboard I'm using exactly it is same that the keyboards it is showing onto your screen. So this is actually common keyboard. This is the cheapest keyboard actually that we are using, the standard keyboard. So what is here? I mean, we are having the different types of keys. So you can see that the list that has been given with the colors, that the sky blue color that you are having that the typewriter keys. For this is for the typing purposes, that, I mean, if you're preparing a document into that Microsoft Word for testing purposes, right? So you know that there was that the typing machine was that there, I mean, now also it is the digital typing machine is there, that, I mean, you can find it in the photocopy shop, that they're preparing still they're preparing some of the official documents by using the digital typing machine. There is only that not analog typing machine was also there. I have seen that. These that the typing machines that the keys there are, those that the machines actually here, those that the keys are basically comes here for as the typewriter typewriter keys. So you can see here that some of the keys. Okay, then we are having the system keys. The system keys actually representing here that, I mean, the Windows, like the color that this is actually logos for the Windows. Application key. So this is the application key. So that just beside that the Windows logo key, right? So that is actually the Windows is actually here the home, right, representing that the operating system home. And if you're clicking on that, I mean, without closing all, after closing all the application, if you're clicking on that, then actually it will come that the programs, like in that the PDF I have pressed. Look that, I mean, I have get that the application with that the application key, I have get that what are the things are there. Do you understand that? So this is the fact that if when I'm clicking on that my application key, on that time I can see that, okay, what are the applications keys holds. Clear?
Yes,
Right?
sir. Yes, sir.
But we do not use this keys, right? Even though we are having this,
No,
we are
sir.
not using
We
it
used to
actually. Yeah,
use those the page up and page down when we are using a large Excel file,
yeah.
or sorry, a doc file or PDF file. That time those two are very effective. If
Right, that page up and page down, that is
yes, sir.
the other keys,
Yes, sir.
right? That is actually that known as the actually control keys. Okay, so here, interestingly, that, I mean, there are some keys. We'll come to the discussions. Okay, so this is the function keys, right? That you are having a lot of function keys, right? So we know, right? We are using some of the function keys that actually the keys are going to be needed when you're using that some of that application programs as well as the operating systems. We have already learned it out that I mean F5 is our one of the favorite function keys, right? F5.
Refresh,
What is
yes.
that? Refresh, refresh, right? So
We also
some
used
I
to
mean
use F4
yeah,
to shut down.
F4, right? F4 is shut down. So there are different Alter F4 actually for closing that programs, right? We are using Alter F4. So there are different keys are there. I mean that for the like that the F10. If you're clicking on that the F10, look that the menus are showing on the screen like for the file F. So now if you click on that the F, then the file is going to be open on, right? So are we using I mean like that way? No, right? But there are some function keys are having it that the very shortcut ways. Even if you do not have the mouse, then by using that the function keys actually you will be able to handle that operating systems and your application programs. So that is an actually excellent thing. But I have tried actually when I was maybe in my first time when I have learned that to I mean operating course of the computer system. On that time, I have tried to use that the computer system without the mouse, and I think I have used my computer without the mouse for around 2 weeks, and I was successful many of the cases. So this is quite interesting. That I mean, it is a bit tough. I mean, if you are not having that the mouse, if you are having that on the keyboard, it is really tough to handle some of that issues, but it is also I mean quite interesting. So you'll find it out that you are going to learn it out that okay, if your mouse is I mean not working for some reasons and you cannot buy it at this moment, so you'll be able to actually use it your computer system without mouse with the keyboard. So that is actually that quite interesting fact anyway. So we are having that the numeric pads. So that the numeric pads is actually my this part. So this is nothing but the calculator that for calculating that no, we are having the calculator. So that the numeric keypad is giving us that I mean to deal with that the specific calculations. So that is actually that it is telling that is more recent addition to the computer keyboard need for speedy data entry. So this is actually really useful, even though we are having some numbers here on, but this right side, one side giving that the numeric keypad actually giving us, I mean, speedy access with that the different documents, Excel sheet, or maybe any calculations is going to be done by using that the numeric keypad. Then we are having the cursor control keys. These are actually really important. These control keys that we are having that the four arrows like T shape, right? So this is the left, right, and up and down. So we need it really. This is useful while we are working on that the computer system. And then we are having the enter keys. This is the control keys actually, the enter keys, and we are having the other some other keys. So this is what that the typing keys. This is also one important, very interesting concept that I mean we do not know. Like that the typing keys. So we already know that the sky blues keys are here, that our typing keys, and we are going to be use them for the letters of alphabet generally laid out in the same pattern used for typewriters known as U W E R T Y. So this is actually the layout at this moment. The keyboard you are seeing on the screen, as well as I mean the most of the people in this. I mean, if you do not know that what type of keyboard you are having in the desktop computer, then actually that you are having this layout of the keyboard. So QWERTY. How this name came? Look that this is quite interesting. QWERTY, right? So this is a quite interesting fact, but we do not know that. I mean, the layout of this keyboard is name is that the QWERTY. Okay, so there are different layouts are also there like A B C D E QWERTZ. It is Y here. AZERTY. So this is actually the form that with the form that the layout name has been given. The different keyboard are having that the typing list. Typing keys we are having the typing keys layout can be QWERTY, can be this other trace. So the different layouts are there for typing keys, actually typewriter keys that we are having here. So this is quite interesting information. And the numeric keypad already I said that's for speedy data entry. So this is really important. And then yes, there is an interesting keys is there, that is the numlock, right? So why that I mean we need it? Maybe we know all of we know that I mean yes, when we are actually going to be use this numeric keypads, on that time if we are turning on this numlock, then actually these keys are going to be accessible, that we know already. And the function keys already I said that application and operating systems can assign specific commands to to handle that the function keys, so that the different function keys are going to be used and the different applications. I already said for that the program, if you're using for example that F10, that you can see that there are different functions. So like that actually there are all that the function keys are going to be used for the different purposes. Like F5 we use regularly for that refreshing. Then we have seen that while we are starting up the computer system, we are using the F2 or maybe F10. In the BIOS for saving purposes, we're using the F10 or F12. That, I mean, the function keys are actually going to be used for the different purposes on the keyboard we are having. And then we are having the control keys. So these are the big list that the provide cursor and screen control. Windows, Apple, Linux keyboards have extra control keys. So that the key control keys here that we are talking about, there are different keyboards like the keys are there like home, end, page up, page down, insert, delete, right, then enter, then that the control, alter, then that you are having the tab, then you are having that the insert. These are actually all the keys here that we are, that the program that we have said, these are actually that all known as the control keys. So there is a big list for the control keys we are having. And there are some other keys like these are the keys that, I mean, this is also, I mean, most of us do not know that what is that the use of these three keys. So that the print screen here, that it is actually if you want to take a screenshot that what you have on the screen, if you want to take a screenshot in your computer system, then actually you use the control parent screen. So you can easily take a picture and that can be used in many purposes. Like, I mean, if you are if you want, for example, you are taking a screenshot of the screen at this moment you are seeing, and if you go to the paint and paste it, you are going to be get this screen, and then you can crop that exactly that what are the facts you need from that the screenshot. And then you are having that the scroll lock, that is actually quite interesting. That, I mean, the scroll lock here, it is going to be stop that the scrolling. I mean, in that for example, that if you're using an Excel sheet, okay, so you are using an Excel sheet, and if you are trying to scroll, I mean, if your scroll lock is on, and from there if you are using your the up and down keys, right, if you're just making this, you can check it now itself. If you're in a computer, you can click on that, I mean, open an Excel file and take your cursor into a cell, and then try to use that left, right, and up, down keys. You will see that the cell is not changing. Cell is still there. It is locked on that the cell. And if you're stopping that scroll down, scroll lock, then if you're taking left and right, up and down, then you will see that, I mean, your cells are moving according to your directions with that the keys. So that also we do not know actually, that, I mean, that the use of this the scroll log, that actually what it is going to happen. And we are having also the pause and break, that the pause and break actually, that is actually mostly used for the DOS programs like CMD you are using on the computer system. So for example, that you are typing a command, you have make a mistake, just click on that the pause and break, then you will see that, I mean, that command is not going to be take, but it is going to be, your DOS is going to be ready, and your CMD is going to be ready to take another command. Okay, so there are, I mean, different uses of these keys actually, that on the keyboard that we are having. So we should have to be know them actually, that what are the keys we are having on the keyboard, and what are the uses of them. So it is a very important part. So now it is talking about that inside the keyboard, that actually what we are having inside a keyboard. So how it is actually going to be work. So that is a lot of discussions I have made for the keyboard into that the lecture notes that you are going to be get after maybe very shortly you are going to be get. So a lot of informations are in there into that the lecture notes, about 18 pages informations about the keyboard. But I mean, you do not need actually to I mean, that's not enough. That the explanation I have given. If you want to actually discuss about the keyboards, there are actually a lot of things there on. But in the presentations I have made it shortly, because we are not going to be discuss that much of information. Actually, we do not need here at this moment. So that is what actually inside the keyboard, that is we are talking about. That is actually our main discussions here, and that we would two things actually important in this chapter. That is that our layout, that what type of keyboards we are having, and what type of keys we are having, and what are the functionalities of these keys, and then what are the inside of the keyboard. So if you're looking to that the inside of the keyboard, this is good, what interesting informations. So it is talking about a keyboard is a lot like a miniature computer. So what is it? The miniature, a small computer actually. That okay? So that there is a small keyboard is like a small computer. Why? Because it has its own processor and circuitry that carries information to or from that processor. So that means we are having the keyboard has its own processor. It is having its own RAM. It is having its own ROM. It is having the circuitry, and with that actually that a keyboard works is quite interesting fact. I mean, what inside inside of the keyboard we are having that we are going to be discussed, but here we are actually trying to tell that actually how a keyboard is going to be work on. So a large part of this circuit sorry, yeah, that the circuitry we are talking about. So what is that, the circuitry? So a large part of the circuitry makes up that the key matrix. So that means we are having the key matrix. What is the key matrix? The key matrix is a grid of circuits underneath the keys. So that means on the top of the keyboard that the keys we are seeing. So inside, if you open the hard disk, you'll see that underneath of the key there is a key matrix. So what is that? The key matrix is actually there is a circuitry. Matrix is a grid of circuits underneath the keys. So when you are actually pressing a key, it presses a switch. So that the circuitry you are having. So each of the center point of the keys, there is a switch. So that, I mean, if I'm pressing on a key on the keyboard, then actually I'm pressing on a switch. So that is actually going to be complete the circuit and allowing a teeny amount of current to flow through. So that is actually the, I mean, main clue that, I mean, when I am pressing a key, so that the key is going to be touched on the circuit, and that is actually going to be the current flow is going to be there. So with that current flow, the mechanical action of the switch causes some vibration called bounce, which that the processor filters out, so that the current flow is going to be actually reached to the processor. So this is what it is telling, that if you press and hold a key, the processor recognizes it as the equivalent of pressing a key repeatedly. So that is what, I mean, when you are actually pressing that a key, on that time it touches on that the circuit switch on that point, and with that the switch, an extra extra current flow is going to be there, and that is going to be catched by the processor, and with that current flowing it is going to be able to know that actually what character actually you have, or what key actually you have pressed. So that is, it is telling here that when the processor finds a circuit that is closed, that means actually now that the bouncing is done, some vibration called bounce, which the processor filter out. So so that when you're pressing the key, that extra current flow, with that extra current flow that is going to be closed, so that the part is going to be closed. So when the processor finds a circuit that is closed, it compares the location of the circuit on the key matrix to the character map in its ROM, in its read on the memory. So that is that the fact here, that it is going to be compared that the key you have pressed, that is going to be compared with that the character map it is already having, the keyboard is already having its ROM, and through that actually it is going to be decided that okay, which key actually you have pressed. So this is what is the character map. What is the character map? The character map is basically a comparison chart or lookup table. So it tells the processor the position of each key in the matrix and what each keystroke or combination of keystrokes represents. So that is what actually it is talking about, that the character map you are having. So if you are pressing a key, that, I mean, with that the current flow, that the CPU is going to be find that the circuit is closed, and it is going to be compare that the keys location, that what the keys I pressed, and with that actually it is going to be understandable by comparing with the character map, that what keys actually I have pressed. So this is what he's saying, the character map lets the processor know that pressing the A key. So if you are pressing an keyboard A key, by itself corresponds to a small letter A. So that your keyboard is going to be, that keyboard processor is going to be understand with that the steps that we have explained, that this is a smaller A. But if you are using the Shift A for writing something onto that the Microsoft Word or Excels, so on that time, that, I mean, you are going to be, that your keyboard processor is going to be understand by combining these two signals and comparing with the character map, it will understand that okay, you are looking for a capital A. So that is, I mean, the fact here that okay, how inside that the a keyboard is going to be work. So this is the quite interesting. I mean, this is the I mean scenarios that is telling that actually inside the closer look that inside of a keyboard. So if you can see that this is the keys actually exactly you're having into your keyboard. So if you want, actually you can take them out like that from the keyboard, but it's not needed, actually unnecessary, because it may spoil that, I mean, that your keys, because these are the keys that these are the keyboards are actually the cheapest keyboard on the market. So the lifetime of these keyboards are not that much. So it's not but if you have a, I mean, damaged keyboard with you, then actually you can do the, I mean, do this experiment by yourself to finding out that okay, what inside of the keyboard you're having. Even you can do it for the running keyboard, there is not going to be any problem. But if you want to do it, then actually maybe you can check some YouTube video or tutorial that okay, what inside a keyboard. So they are going to be tell you that how you're going to be actually open a keyboard, and you're going to be able to look inside what are the things are there inside of the keyboard. So you can see that, I mean, this is the key, it is a key of the keyboard is showing. And here you are having that transparent plastic contact layers. So that, I mean, when you're going to be take out that the front part of the keyboard, right, on that time you'll see that this type of plastic contact layers. Basically there are three layers, okay, that there are three separate layers are there. So that three plastic layers are there. So that the three layers we are going to be explaining to that upcoming slides. So there is a little plastic rubber. So when you're pressing it on that time, that is actually going to be that the plastic cover is going to be help you to touch on that the different contact layers that you're having. So that the key matrix, that what we say. So this is an underside of one key. So this that the key has been placed in such a way that there are three plastic layers, as we said. Actually you'll be able to see here that there are different circuitry is represented with that the white color and the black color layout. So the keyboard switches, so there are different varieties of switches technologies. Actually the different switches are there. So it has been actually there are mainly if we're talking about that the keyboard switches, there are, I mean, if you're searching in the keyboard switch into the Google, you'll find it out. There are a lot of keyboard switches, different varieties of keyboard switches are there. But mainly these keyboard switches can be with the two classified into two ways. One is that the capacitive switch, and another is the mechanical switch. So these are the two types of technologies are there mainly that is actually the keyboard switches can be classified. But if you are looking for the more classifications of switches, you are going to be get the more informations, but we do not need it. We just want to focus on that the two types of key switches here, that what is the capacitive switch, and what are the all other actually based on that the mechanical switch, so mechanical key switch. So this is what actually we are interested to learn about, that the capacitive and that the different mechanical key switches we are having. So here in case of the capacitive switches, so current constantly flows through all parts of the key matrix. So that is actually how somewhat different it from that the mechanical key switch, that, I mean, they're actually not, the current actually not constantly flow through all parts of the key matrix. So each key is spring loaded and has a teeny plate attached to the bottom of it, and when a key is pressed, it moves this plate closer to the plate below. So you can see here, if you're looking to that if you're looking for that this is actually capacitive switch, you can see here that you are having a key and then you are having a return spring. So when you are pressing it and it comes back with that the spring actually it is returning, and then that you can see here that we are having a upper plate is movable. So this is the plate we are talking about. So the layers we have said about, right? So that the layers, so it is actually when you're pressing the key, so that the layers is going to become closer to this lower plate that you are talking about. So that, I mean, when it will come, it is telling that when a key is pressed, it moves this plate closer to the plate below it. So it will come to closer that the lower plate that is actually it is talking about. So it said as the two plates move closer together, the amount of current flowing through the matrix changes, right? So that the continuous flows are going on. So if they are coming to that the current flow is going to be changed. So that is actually telling that on that when it is going to be changed, on that time the processor detects the change and the interprets it as a key place for the location. So by checking that the current flow difference with that the total current flow, then it actually able your processor, your keyboard processor able to detects that actually how much, I mean which key you have pressed. So that is what actually it is trying to talk about. Then it is talking about that the capacitive switch keyboards are expensive, but they have a longer life than any other keyboard. So that is the fact here, that these are the, I mean, highest amount of lifetime that you can get with that type of switches have been used into that the different keyboards. And the other type of keyboards here is that the mechanical keyboards. Mechanical key switches include these are the rubber dome, membrane, metal contact, foam elements. So these are not the only key switches, but there are several others. But these are the common one. Okay, so these are the type of keyboards are actually using this type of technologies are going to be used, that those can be actually known as the mechanical key switches. So here we are not going to be actually explain them in detail here. You can get that the detailed information from that the lecture notes. But here what we are going to be interested to know is that what is that the working procedures of the rubber dome and the membrane. So here this is a picture. It is showing to you that actually what is happening, that the things we have explained, that okay, when you are pressing a keyboard, that there are three layers we are having. So there is an hole, the middle layer is having a hole, so that when you are pressing that the upper layer, on that time with that the hole, it is actually touching to that the bottom layer, and with that the current flow is going to be there, and with that actually it is going to be detected by that the processor of the keyboard, that okay, which locations, I mean this changes has been identified, and according to that it is going to be understand that actually which key you have pressed. So this is actually, it is telling that with the finger press, that is actually it will come down, and it actually touches that the with that the hole, that I mean with that the piece of plastic that you have seen, that it is going to be touched on that the below layer. So that with that the below layer you will be able to know that, I mean if you are pressing T, then the output on the monitor you will be able to see that the T is showing. So that is what actually it is talking about, and it is a pictures that I have tried to add here, that is actually using the rubber dome over the membrane. So these are the two of the techniques that we are having. Actually both of them can be used, the rubber dome over the membrane. So these are nearby technologies switches for the keyboards that actually you are using. So here you can see that there is a keycap, and if you're looking to that the closely here, there is a key cap. So that the key we have seen that we are removing a key, so that the key is actually the known as the keycap. So typically integrated mounts and slider is part of the keypad itself. Then integrated slider, that actually the opposite side of the keyboard, the switch, and then uppercase. So this is actually that the switch has been placed into that the case, in this case. So and typically contains so what is the uppercase? This typically contains slider guide and stops as part of the uh, uh, what is that, I cannot read. What is it? MOUL?
Sir, moduling.
Moduling, right? So that is what the part of moduling, and this is that the part, I mean
Sorry, sir, molding, sir,
molding. Okay, so this is the part that this slider, that the keycap is going to be fixed on here on, so that when you are going to be placed on there, actually if you are taking your keyboard top part of front part of the keyboard, if you are opening, on that time you will see that, I mean this has been fixed with that this uppercase. Okay, so I mean you will see that there are the different switches are there, and with that the switch actually you are just trying to pressing on that the rubber domes. So that the rubber domes is a plastic, silicon plastic simply, that is a sheet that typically formed from a single rubber sheet in a region of 0.6 mm thick. So this is a simply a plastic rubber domes that is actually is going to be on the top of that your three layers of that the keyboards, that the three layers that we have actually discussed here. So here after that the rubber domes, you are having the top membrane layer. So that this is the top membrane layer. So this top membrane layer traces and contact pads on the lower surface. So that is actually that the three layers are going to be there. These three layers on the top, you are having one of the key matrix, traces contact pads on the lower surface, and then the center one, the membrane layers, that is actually the top layer is pressed against the bottom layer through the holes in the create layer. So in the second one, we are not having anything then that the holes, the plastic on that the layers you are having that the holes. So when you're pressing that the rubber domes a keys, then it is going to be touch on this point, and through that the hole, it is going to be touch on that the bottom membrane layer. Do you understand that? So this is actually very nice representation to show that actually how exactly when you're pressing a keyboard, what is going, how it is going to be touched on that the bottom membrane layer. Okay, so that the lower case, it is actually supports the membrane assembly, and it is a very thick paper actually. So do you understand this functionalities here for a keys?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I think we are running out of time, so we should have to take the attendance as well. Okay, so we are finishing our discussions up to here on. I think I wanted to finish this lecture today, but anyway, I think next we need more 15 minutes to finish this lecture in the next class. Okay, so attendance, you Aminul Islam is here. Alif Lala